UFO and Humanoids Reported in Canada by Charles Lear. From Canada comes a case that stands out for the large number of UFO occupants said to have been seen by the witnesses, the amount of time the witnesses reportedly observed them, the trace evidence observed by the investigators, and a visit by two men in black. The case is described in the November 1974 Mutual UFO Network publication, Skylook. The investigators are listed as Jean Roy, P.H. Blaquiere, Marc Leduc, and Wido Holville. The report on which the article, titled Robot Occupants Report, was based, was written by Holville. According to the article, at around 1:30 a.m. on June 25, 1974, Mr. L., the witnesses' names are withheld, was watching television in his mobile home in St. Cyrille de Wendover, Province, Quebec, Canada. He heard a noise like something falling on the ground outside and went to look out a window to see what might have caused it. He lifted a curtain and saw a reddish-orange object hovering over the field to the northeast of his home. It was round and so brightly illuminated that he couldn't look at it for long. He went to the bedroom to wake up his wife, and there he heard a noise described in the article as sort of a bzzz. Looking out the bedroom window, he saw a 6-foot-tall, metallic, stiff-looking robot form 15 feet away. He couldn't recall anything about its head, but described red glowing horizontal bars on its upper body. He watched as the creature explored the interior of a storage shed. Mr. L. and his wife went to the living room and, looking out a window there, saw 3 more creatures like the first. Due to the stiff movement of the creatures, the witnesses referred to them as robots. The couple said they were frightened and unsure of what to do at this point. As they watched, the creatures seemed to examine the mobile home's shaft and wheel assembly. They watched the creatures for 3 hours, and at one point saw 15 creatures standing in a line close to a nearby creek. They stood there for more than 5 minutes and then suddenly moved simultaneously as if on command. According to the article, the next day, Mr. L. described what he'd seen to his co-workers and apparently was not believed. A local radio station got hold of the story, and Jean Roy contacted the witnesses. Roy interviewed the witnesses on tape. He then found landing traces and leg imprints and photographed them. Philippe Blaquiere, Marc Leduc, and Wido Holville formed the group UFO Quebec after their investigation of the case. Leduc wrote about it in Volume 1, Number 1 of their publication UFO Quebec. In the article titled Un atterrissage des humanoids at Drummondville, a landing in humanoids at Drummondville, Leduc describes how he and Blaquiere became involved with the case. According to him, Roy was describing the case on a morning radio show hosted by Paul Martin on CFDM-FM at Drummondville. A listener called Blaquiere and told him to tune in. Blaquiere felt the case was worth investigating, and he called Leduc. They contacted Roy, and Roy introduced them to the witnesses, whom Leduc describes as being very reluctant before agreeing to cooperate. Wido Holville was brought along on their third visit. As far as anything that might be able to corroborate the witnesses' account, according to the Skylook article, at a nearby farm, a dog that reportedly barked habitually worked its way out of its collar and hid at the time of the sighting. There was also a report that an unidentified woman had contacted the police who had not responded. The witnesses guided the investigators to where they saw the UFO. There they saw a circle in the grass that was 17 feet in diameter. The circle was formed by a 2-foot swath of flattened grass on the outside. The grass on the inside was undisturbed, and there were no signs of burning. On the other side of the creek, the investigators found 2 more circles on their own. The circles remained visible more than 2 months later, and the grass in the circles grew twice as tall as the surrounding grass. Besides the circles, the witnesses found a white substance where they had seen the creatures, especially near the shed. According to the article, 2 men wearing black suits, black ties, black shoes, and carrying a file holder visited the witnesses. With neither of them showing any credentials, one of them began asking questions, speaking Canadian French with no accent. The witnesses cut them short and asked them to leave. The witnesses said the men drove a light-colored car and that they hadn't written down the license plate number. They said they saw them drive by their home 2 weeks later, and that this time they had 2 women with them. According to the article, Holville judged the witnesses' credibility to be very good, and he called them open-minded. He said they had an average interest in UFOs and that their knowledge was limited to what they read in newspapers.
Available, June 2022. From Flying Disc Press. A book about the people involved in the mystery. Covering the golden age of flying saucers. Using newsletters, magazines, case files, official documents and more. Sure to leave even the die-hard skeptic wondering. By Charles Lear, New York, USA. The Flying Saucer Investigators. Available on Amazon, from June 2022. The Flying Saucer Investigators. Flying Disc Press.